But the Rockets, yeah. So they're one of these teams that don't really have like a star, to be honest. I mean, Alpi, he's going to represent them in the All-Star game for sure, Alperen Şengün. But he's like a debatable All-Star, I feel like. You know what I mean? They are the 2 seed in the West, and they have basically no All-Stars, you could argue.
It feels like they have just like a lot of guys that like, you're probably wrong, but if you throw out their name, like you don't feel the, like Alpi's definitely, Şengün is for sure the most like, okay, that's like a legitimate All-Star to say. But like if someone's like randomly,
I think it stops there, to be honest.
You don't think there's anybody else that if they threw out a name, they're not, I guess it's hard in the West. Honestly, and this might be way out, it kind of feels like the Clippers before they got this Kawhi Paul George group and after they lost Blake Griffin and Chris
CP3,
Paul.
yeah.
It was just like 7 guys that you feel like could win 6th man of the year.
Yeah.
And they like were just feisty. But like Ime Udoka at the coaching spot has kind of just like turned all these offensive guys into like wiry on defense, I guess.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
They're definitely mucking stuff up on defense. They're the ultimate, just like make everything uncomfortable when they're on defense.
Kind of like what you thought Nick Nurse was going to do with that young Raptors team, where like everyone's long, everyone's big, have fun. But the Rockets just do that, and then also have like the closest thing we have to Jokic outside of Sabonis in the middle, like orchestrating to a bunch of guys that offensively is what they got drafted for. They've just turned into defensive pieces.
Jalen Green, at least. I would say a lot of the other guys are more defensive, like Tari Eason and Jabari Smith and Dylan Brooks, Amen Thompson.
I forget Brooks.
Yeah.
My brain.
But Jabari Smith, I could see someone describing him as an offensive guy or a defensive guy, to be honest, when he was a prospect. But I'd say the Achilles heel with the Rockets, the thing that I have them lower in my power rankings than they are in the actual standings, is that offensively in the clutch, they just don't have like a go-to thing.
Because they're all children.
Yeah. And even like their vets, like Fred VanVleet isn't the guy really that you want to be your number one option in that type of scenario. So they've struggled a little bit there.
And then their other vet is a guy that wants to be the number one option that should not be.
Yeah. But yeah, with the Rockets though, I think that is what's going to hold them back. And then also I think that they are playing at their absolute like peak effort and energy. Like they're giving their absolute all in these games. And I just don't know once we get to the playoffs if there's another level for them to go to in that department. I don't think that exists. So that's going to hurt them a little bit, you know, when we're thinking about which of these teams can make it out of the West, really, is kind of how I'm viewing this question.
Well, they already kind of play like it's playoff basketball because they muck everything up. Everything kind of slows down in games against the Rockets. Nothing is clean because of how they just go about defense. But I kind of agree to the fact that, like, what else can they do?
Yeah.
Like, unless they have, like, somebody emerge as that clutch time, crunch time offensive option, I feel like we've seen the best version of the Rockets already this season.
And even if they do get that guy, they're still going to have a little bit, like, there's going to be adjustment of the league average, you know, the teams that they're playing come playoff time, all of them, their effort level and rotation is going to shrink. So, like, it's like going to be just better basketball on the court that they're going to be going against.
Are they in the Cam Thomas sweepstakes, do you think?
Cam Thomas or Cam Johnson?
Thomas.
I don't know if there is a Cam Thomas sweepstakes, but like Cam Johnson.
Are they not both up? I thought they both were.
Well, I mean, Cam Thomas could be traded for, but I don't think he's really what everybody is going after. But I have heard a lot of people actually suggest Cam Thomas for the Rockets, though, which I don't mind that as an idea. The thought I've heard behind it is that Cam Thomas can be their answer for like their lack of scoring creation, but also I don't know if I want Cam Thomas to be my like number one option in that scenario. He's definitely better at it, I would say, than anybody else on their team right now on the Rockets. And if they were to make a Cam Thomas deal, I don't know what they would give up exactly. It might be Jalen Green. And if that is the case, I don't know if I would do it.
What about Jimmy?
Jalen Green for Jimmy?
And then obviously there'd have to be more. But
yeah,
the hard part for them is they'd have to give up so many assets to make the money work. But I guess they'd probably just offload overpaid Dylan Brooks or overpaid Van Vliet. Well, it'd have to be Dylan Brooks in this scenario, probably.
Because what does Jimmy make? Like 50?
That sounds right.
Is he getting paid 50 yet? He will be soon if he's not now. I think he has one more year on his deal.
48.7.
48.7, so damn near.
Next year is a player option that's 52.
And I assume he's picking that up no matter where he goes, to be honest, because I don't know if he's going to get a better deal than that long term.
And Van Vliet's at 42. Dylan Brooks is 22.
I forget that Van Vliet is at 42. That's just a bonkers number. So he could fit in there, but then they would need somebody to replace Van Vliet, which Reed Shepherd is waiting.
Is in the G League.
Putting up 40-point triple doubles or whatever he did. So there's that. that.
That would be an interesting idea.
That would be.
Van Vliet and then probably Jalen Green. Would that be enough is that enough of a win for Pat Riley?
I would think so.
Does he accept that?
I mean, that and maybe a pick. I mean, I would take that if I was the Heat, for sure, in a heartbeat. But the thing is, with the Rockets, that's like it's just kind of crazy to do when you have this young, fun team that you're trying to feel out where things...
Oh, that actually might not work, because going into next year, those two would cost $77 million combined.
Which two? Jalen Green and
Fred VanVleet, because VanVleet has... Oh, the next year's a team option, so they could be like...
Oh, that works out kind of perfectly, actually, then. Wow.
And then Jalen Green's making $33,333,333.
Interesting. That exact number, which I don't think is terrible. It's definitely being overpaid for what Jalen Green is right now. But
in
what
4 years, he's only making 36.
Which he might be that. Who knows?
I feel like with the way the cap grows, he will definitely be that.
Depends on how much of a Jalen Green believer you are. There's some people kind of off that island now, but I'm definitely more on it, I'd say, than average, but not by a lot. I've never really been that big of a Jalen Green guy, to be honest, but I'm also holding what little stock I did have, if that makes sense. But yeah, so that is a fun, interesting idea. Brings Jimmy home to Houston also, where he's from, Tomball, Texas. But what I was saying, it's just kind of crazy for the Rockets to do because of how good of a season they're having. Rafael Stone would have to have some major balls to pull off like a move like that. You know what I mean? To just like shake everything up when it's like you are having 10 times the season that a lot of people were projecting for you. And you're also very early on it too with this roster. Are you sure you want to trade a lot of that off for a disgruntled star that has a very checkered history, who's not a shooter off the ball, who's 36 years old or whatever he is?
That's true. I just feel like Ime and Jimmy would hate each other, but like mutually respect each other.
Yeah, I think that would be a good match.
Like there's not very many people I feel like could handle Jimmy Butler. And I feel like Ime's one of them.
Yeah, honestly.
Psycho Joe Mazzulla is also one of them, but Jimmy Butler's never wearing a Celtics jersey ever.
Yeah,
please no.
That would be crazy. The world would have to end.
I would take an NBA hiatus. I would stop caring. If Brad just decided to pop a cup of Molly and make that trade, I would kill myself.
Molly.
That's the only way. He would have to be high out of his mind.
Anyway. No, I mean, it definitely wouldn't happen. Yeah, I would agree. That would be a much wilder move than even this Rockets one that we're suggesting.
Yeah.
Which isn't a crazy move, honestly.
I feel like that's like the entertaining side of probable or possible.
Yeah.
Not probable.
Yeah, for sure. It's possible enough to the point that we're talking about it. You know what I mean? But it also would be, if that were to happen, that would be like a Rafael Stone better watch his moves moving forward a little bit.
But what if it works and they go to the Western Conference Finals?
Obviously the upside of it is perfectly fine.
And you potentially compete with the Thunder because you have a guy like Jimmy Butler.
I agree. But what if it doesn't go well? And how likely is it that it won't go well? You know what I mean? Like it's not that outlandish to think that, oh, it just doesn't work and things kind of fall apart a little bit.
35
and if that
it
were
works,
to happen,
65 it doesn't, you think?
35 it works, 65 it does. I would say more 50-50 than that, honestly. But it's just the Rockets are really good right now. And just if he were to trade Jimmy Butler and it doesn't work, he's like just mailed in his job. Like there's no coming back from that, I feel like.
Go big or go home, you know?
That's true, I guess. But who's Tillman Fertitta or whatever is the Rockets owner? Maybe he's into that.
Sounds right.
Type of thing. I mean, I haven't heard about him ever since, honestly, the Daryl Morey firing. I don't even think he got fired. I think he just stepped down, actually. Now I think about it.
Speaking of Daryl Morey, is his former lover, are they fifth on your list or are they just fifth in the standings?
They are fifth in the standings. I have them very close to fifth in my power rankings. The team I do have at fifth is the Dallas Mavericks.
Oh, lame.
What did you think I was about to say?
I thought you were going to hard pivot and be like, Kings, bring back. I'm just kidding.